Terminator. But obviously something for them is still not kind of clicking. And might have players who are map specific, but for me, if you're going to put me in all of a sudden out of nowhere like that on a map, and I haven't been able to see how these teams have been playing and really experience it firsthand, I feel like for me at least, it's not going to work out too well.
I feel like they need to figure out that team. And they need to stop switching out so much.
Yeah, you can use your subs, of course. That is what they're there for at the end of the day. But I feel like changing them every 3 map to a maximum is just a bit too much. I want to see like a team stick together for like 4 or 5 matches if possible, because having players that are really hot, looking good, especially after the back of a good game, and then players that I've never played like the start of the day is a really rough transition. So maybe just a 4-man core player would be the best approach for Procedure in the future.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I want to actually bring up something, Max, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but we're going to have to hit back to this. We had an interview with one of the Brazilian casters. Actually, was here just talking to some people. And you said to him that Loops to you is like the team to take it home for Brazil. Now, I'm not trying to call you out in particular. It's more of, in your opinion, from what we have seen, what is going wrong for Loops? Why is Cardozen? I mean, we know why Cardozen's the last one alive, but they're not really able to contend against these teams at the moment.
I feel like when they're taking fire, I mean, Cardozen, as mentioned, like he is on those off-angle positions, which is why he keeps surviving a lot of the time. They are just rotating very late, and off the back of that, they don't have really maximal information for the breaches, I feels like. So Cardozen is just looking at the team doing their own thing and not really assisting. Like, you even see when the team is dying, Cardozen is not even taking shots, it seems like. He's just in his position and just serving as an anchor point, but not really serving an off-angle. Whereas when you look, for example, I would look at Stalwart. I think Stalwart's a good example, that when they have those 2-2 splits, which I think is the better way to split compared to a 3-1, you are going to be having shots from the 2-2 split assisting the other 2-man split to trying to survive, not actually trying to give more information or position advantage to his team. So I would like to see him actually having an impact than just lingering in the shadows.
Well, think of the 2 teams right now, Seven, that are playing that style. Major Pride and Loops. Both teams not having great success so far.
Yeah, they're not having it, and I feel like they're not going to continue to have any success, even on this last match. I feel like for a lot of these teams, even like when we're talking about Precision,
it just keeps appearing out of nowhere.
Let it go.
It's going to be too late.
But even for Precision, I feel like we're not going to be seeing any changes from Loops, from
Major Pride.
Precision, from Major Pride as well, until tomorrow, when they get a little bit more time to figure out, especially with Precision, when they try to figure out, okay, what team are we going to sit? Are we going to continue to make those changes at what it seems like to be every other map, or we're actually going to have a set team? Yeah. And then when you have Loops, especially first day tomorrow, I want to see if they're even going to be trying to hot drop with, considering where they currently are within this team. And that's kind of what we're talking about with Alpha 7. Are they going to continue to be an ego thing? Because it's PMGC. Don't get me wrong. I usually tend to love hot drops, but a PMGC,
that's an expensive hot drop,
yeah, don't do it. Don't do it unless you really have to, right?
On the note of substitutions, right, of like swapping people, think back to Vampire during league stage. They would put Newsy in over Stoned, and they still couldn't really find their stride. But you know what? We are heading to the last match of the day. It's going to be back on Miramar once again, and it's going to be with your boys, Johnny A and Blanky B.
I'm not sure that's your name, is it? You can have that back, by the way, Seven. I had to pull that off for you. We're going into the final match of the day, the end course of our Desert Dessert.
Oh yeah, you know, the final one, moving it through. I'm excited for it, honestly. Miramar always is a good time. I'm excited to watch some of these teams actually be able to hold on to some of these spots. Because at the moment, they're all over the place. It's crazy.
It is a little bit wild, a little bit windy in Istanbul. We are certainly looking at a lot of high-performing teams who have, as you say, had that volatility. We saw IHC take a little bit of a dip in that last match.
Yeah, I think for IHC, like you were talking about it personally, so we'll have to see if IHC can bring things back a little bit and get a massive chicken dinner game with some big eliminations at the end of the day to keep things rolling. For S2G, though, they sort of look like they can win the championship. Yeah.
I don't think anyone expected that coming into this thing, other than half of the stadium.
Yeah, the stadium's pretty happy about them, but they were here to support them regardless. I'm here to now support them because they've proven it, that they should be supported.
But it is kind of crazy that they have not performed. I think it's fair to say, I don't think they performed well over this season at all, in a way that really called into question their right to be here. Obviously, as the host nation, that's how they got their invite, but certainly with today's matches, they have proven that, as you say, they are one of the best in the world.
Yeah, they certainly are. And it's nice to see, honestly, that they are this good. And I think that overall, going forward for S2G, this is very, very promising for next year. There is. FaZe is just shouting, more or less screaming at this point. And it's Mela as well, of all people.
Hey, he's giving it.
But he's good. He's good at the game, so I can't say anything.
That's
all
true.
right? Yeah.
That is
So
true.
how can I complain? But he is. I do call him Mela the mischief maker as well. So it's on point.
He is making plenty of mischief there over in the FaZe bunker. Right on the corner, right behind us as well. We've got it. We've got the front row seat to it. We're going to have a front row seat to the final match of today as well. 6 out of 18 matches will have been completed by the end of it, and Jason knows that that's a third of them. And we are going to be going into the final one of today. Plane path from Puerto Paraíso all the way to La Cobreria.
Very easy playing path to work with here, going straight through the map. You know, you're going to have yourself a nice cutoff for a lot of teams to get exactly where they want if it's over towards El Pozo, Monte Nuevo. El Azahar is very accessible. Don't know how many teams actually head up towards Tierra Bronca overall, but we will see overall. I think down towards Valle de Mar, potentially some teams head out down that way. But it was very stacked over towards Impala.
Obviously that Hacienda hot drop. See if that has a repeat performance. That was Titan taking on Loops, I believe, in that previous match. So we'll see if we get a repeat performance. Looks like Loops are going to be going there. Titan, I see a light blue nameplate in the mix of all of that central map chaos. So maybe we'll see something similar, but Loops maybe spreading out a little bit further. So going for a different spot now. You can see, yeah, plenty of the Loop players moving further north than Hacienda. Obviously losing that scrap, it's a little bit of a bitter taste in their mouths, and they will not want to be trying that one again. However, the circle does go up their way, all the way up to the north. It feels like we've been on a bit of a world tour here so far, Blank. In these maps, we've had Erangel north, south, middle. We've had now Miramar on the south side, down by Puerto Paraíso, and now up to the north.
Yeah, man, it really has felt like we've been all over the place on every single map today, which is exactly what you want to see for PMGC, right? You want to be able to take the tour around the world, around at least our 3 maps, at least, and really explore them to their fullest. We're now looking at WBG, coming up against 4 Miracle Vibes. God, 4MV certainly found themselves in engagements very early on a lot of times, though. I wouldn't want to be in the longhouse with Sue myself.
Baron might have an angle onto the crossing, but he's being suppressed off it. Look at this flank coming through. Wymouse there, and from the roof immediately, another player drops out of the wings, and it is first blood for Sue.
I think the main thing that I'm thinking about right now is Titans versus Loops. Cardozin goes down first.
He got car-dozed.
What is happening here? It's the reversal. I don't like the fact that Cardozin's gone down first here. It's making me feel all kinds of funny.
That is illegal, actually. Someone check the law, because I'm pretty sure it's just been broken. It's very serious.
I thought you meant like the backstory.
Oh, no, like LAW.
The backstory of Cardozin.
Well, they've broken that too. Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, unacceptable behavior.
That's not canon.
To be honest with you, Loops is an interesting one to talk about so far, though, because I do feel like this is a team that should be doing much better than they currently are. And I know that right now, this does very much feel like a PMGC because the majority of teams are in that 20-point bracket, excluding Morph, right, at the end of the day. But I think that everyone's in line to jump up towards that first place, to jump up and take the throne. So it's nice to see, but I don't think that Loop should be in a 10th place at the moment. I think there should have been probably more coming through from this team so far. Ayala really hasn't stepped up the way that we saw him step up during a lot of our matches over in the league stage.
Seems like IHC have stolen their variants, you know? That's what's happened.
Yeah, for sure. 39 points is awesome, though, for IHC.
For their play style.
For their play style. And again, it's really cool to see a team like that that is just so focused on eliminations just show everyone that you don't necessarily have to pump the placement points all the time. You can do it a different way. And more than anything, if you are a heavy elimination-based team, technically you're just removing points from other teams that they can gather. and making it a lot easier for yourself to stay towards that top side of the bracket.
That is, I mean, a major earner, obviously. I mean, a lot of teams will sort of go somewhere near even, probably within about 20% total of their elimination points to placement points distribution. But you do have these outliers, and IHC certainly proving that that is up to the task. Alpha 7 took a little bit of an early exit from that last match, earlier than they would have liked, and had that gap closed between them and obviously S2G making a lot of headway up the tables. They are still very, very closely pursued, though, by pretty much everyone still, as we only 5 matches of points worth deep into this tournament. Plenty of ground left to cover. WBG, they're making their way up past Cruz del Valle, a little bit further north for them.
Yeah, WBG looking for another good game here. Obviously, Sue really did bring them back up to speed. And I mean, for WBG, who was basically hanging out at the bottom of the tables earlier on today, looking very glum. A bit more smug with themselves, I'd say, right now. Especially with Sue really clutching things out, getting themselves a chicken dinner, 2 off the back of it. 37 points, 5th place. It's a fantastic jump up from them.
They were right down at the bottom before the start of the last few games. This second half of the day has done wonders for their
They had
points
me in
total.
the second half, I'm not going to lie.
They certainly did. They've had plenty of teams on the ropes this time around, not least of which sit 2 places ahead of them and only 3 points. Nongshim Red Force at 1v3. The stuff a legend, Blank.
Yeah, it's really nice to see. I think that, again, there's a lot of legacy right now in PMGC as well, with returning players that have made a name for themselves in the past, and Sue is certainly one of them. The 1v3 versus Nongshim Red Force, that kind of felt meant to be at the end of the day. Xavier, though, a team that's fallen down towards 8th place. And I think that, yes, they're doing well for themselves, but there's very much a switch up in terms of speed, in terms of prowess between that. Our angle where Lamborghini helped his team get 12 eliminations total. So I do think that for Xavier, there's much more to be done here in this tournament that they haven't reached yet.
Still something to stretch for, still something to see off on that horizon. See if they can sail their way on through. And you know S2G's just come on the screen because the crowd goes wild.
Instantaneously, of course.
And fair enough. They have been outperforming themselves of this last season. All of these players really starting to look a lot more cohesive than we've seen from them in a long, long time. Pretty much, I would say, since last PMGC.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they've sort of reserved themselves for this event in
Spring
particular.
season was very good for them, to be fair.
Yeah, I think there was some issues within the team. I don't think they were like drama issues. I think they were more like actual
Gameplay
broken
issues.
bones.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it was, I think it was Silas, hurt his finger. Couldn't
Something like
play.
that.
Yeah.
Was that might have been PMWI, I think that might have
Maybe.
been.
Maybe.
I have to go back through my history books.
But obviously that's very difficult to play with, right, at the end of the day. So I think respect to them for them trying to push through. And you can see here, now that he is up to full speed, like Silas is such an important member of the team, like such a integral squad mate, that it would be very bad to lose him at full strength. And I think that the rest of the team sort of rallies around him. Up towards that northwest side at the moment. We've not really talked too much about a lot of the teams in position. There's just so much to talk about in general right now.
Not too sure who's just walked in, but the whole crowd's turning his attention his way. I think he's an S2G fan as well. They're pretty happy with that one as they roll on down the hill.
You are mesmerized.
I love it.
You're meant to be commentating.
I'm supposed to be saying what I'm seeing. I'm seeing.
You didn't say
The
anything.
crowd rallying
you
behind
looked deep into his eyes.
I was letting
That's
the
what
crowd have
saw.
that. I was letting it breathe, Blank.
I don't know how much they can hear of
The drums agree with me.
What, about the 2 random men?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Anyway,
That's
let's take
fine.
a look back
It's
at the
okay. Don't need to know that.
What have you done to me? Oh dear.
Yeah.
FaZe back into the mix of it as they try and cross the open ground near Nongshim and near Titan as well, who have come off the back and taken down one of the Loops players. Tizzy, first to receive, and does so fairly strong. Does take a lot of damage, takes that lick back, gets the heal started. Sporter there to try and cover his flank and has to face off against Ventoras as Mela looks to res Mormon here. Ventoras opens the door to the longhouse, in through, looking for the trade. And they need to bank it off, and Sporter has the pump action. Ventora's taken low as XZY has moved in for the flank. Tizzy into the longhouse as well, and Wings takes up the mantle. Ventura is caught in the cross. Tizzy steps out as Wings goes down. A trade-off onto XZY, and FaZe are not going down without a fight, but Mela's now out of it. Mormon's the last to stand, has the backup of Onzins around the corner to try and play 2 versus 2 against the hold from Nongshim. And neither team looking too good in this one.
Very much back and forth here between both these squads. Either side's taking punches and the bruises start to form. Sporter, though, feels a little bit stronger in this one. Onzins attempts to get in there, unfortunately gets sent back. Very sliver of HP.
Sporter last to stand now. Onzins gets that heal off, gets that first aid. Now 2 players for FaZe to keep things together, right in the middle as well, close to Stalwart, who have obviously heard everything that's gone on here. Going for a third party, I don't think it would have been the right choice. I think they're right to hold their ground, but Titan right in the middle on their split. Can they have another stronger performance that they were able to get a little bit of earlier today? They had that taste, but it was snatched away from them. This time around, they want the whole meal. In this central location, they've got that opportunity.
Yeah, I think for both sides, though, it's almost over for him. FaZe down to 2 players, Nongshim Red Force down to 1. It's kind of a horrible situation to be in. Mutually assured destruction. S2G off towards that western side.
They get the shift.
It's a really good shift for them, actually, because it's going to be difficult for them to cross that road, but they need to cross it soon rather than later, honestly, because that little valley is something that's very deadly later on. But they can get up towards that ridge.
So they'll have to try and figure out what else they can go for. Sporter in the meantime with a pump action through the longhouse, trying to hold it down for Nongshim to try and keep consistency, stay in the top 3 at the end of the day. Because IHC will give no quarter. Sporter for 1. Shouts pull, gets the second to peek on out, but Onzins only gets half his HP bar. 3 shots in the chamber, and it's Nongshim to keep it together. FaZe are gonna go down right in the middle of the tables. It looked like maybe they had something, but it was snuffed out quickly.
Out screaming less in mischief and more in pain there towards the end of the FaZe. Sadly, for them, they'll go out. 9th place. Again, I would say for FaZe that they were able to turn things round, right? Even in this 6th match. They get themselves 3 eliminations, takes them up to 30 points total, right? It's not bad. They were really down in the dumps at the start of the day. And I think this is not a bad position to finish things off, giving themselves a chance into tomorrow. For Miracle Vibes, take a massive beating from Alpha 7. Lose 1 player out the back of the vehicle, easily finished off as well. And Stalwart over on some of the highest ground around.
Certainly has plenty of sightlines available to overlook onto that water treatment position. It's so dangerous to move into water treatment when there's a team up on this high ground hill. It's so difficult to make anything work from there because now you've got 2 teams looking to play either end of it. You've got 4MV, Alpha 7. 4MV a lot more exposed, Alpha 7 a little bit further up the hill. In the warehouse that sits on those stilts right at the north side of water treatment, but still dangerous, to say the least. You2 Alliance ready and waiting for Zuxi. They knew what was up. They pull him straight at the back of the buggy, and that's all that's going to happen for him.
Some crazy tracking during this tournament at PMGC. It's really cool to witness firsthand the best aimers in the world at their best. And I think that some of these plays just wouldn't happen in usual PMPLs. And I think that's what's making a few of these teams struggle, that they would expect to be able to make that similar kind of play maybe in their region or in their league. It's not possible here. Those types of things of a quick rotate over open ground, hoping you don't get spotted, player's going to razz you down in 1 to 2 seconds.
Hamzy And Silas on the northern front right now, trying to hold off against WBG. And it looks like WBG more preoccupied with getting the compound out to their east. And I think rightly so. DXavier might want to challenge, but they have got Stalwart looking their way in the meantime across of it. And Major Pride have managed to sneak on through as well to be in these foothills. Dino looking to move on up. Chua is already down here. Might just be an easy flush, an easy pickup for Major Pride to add a point to their totals. Much needed, certainly. Towards the bottom of the end of today. IHC have taken a knock, and Godless is the second to fall. Ziol looking to move into position because Demo's already down. They want to try and keep all three players alive, but Godless just gets flushed away, and that's only 2 now for IHC. This is great news for S2G, who are looking to fend off against the teams chasing behind them on the points totals.
Yeah, and I mean for S2G overall, leave themselves with that gap of Alpha 7 having 3 players. There's an entrance now been made for him. Push on forward, push on through. The hard times of this year to conclude with trophy in hand. It's only the first day, but I'm making a good case for it. Have to finish on first place though. Longshan Red Force 3 eliminations are going out now. There was such a good chance for South Korea to get a strong finish at the end of the day here, and does feel like Miramar is just not their map.
Maybe we'll have to expect a little bit more from them on the other maps tomorrow, as we're going to have to wait to see them again. 2 teams now have their day brought to an end. 4MV seem to be pretty close to that mark, and IHC similarly suffering now, as Miramar not being kind to them either. U2 Alliance, they were able to get some pretty sick tracking shots, and it looks like Olio just dips back, playing whack-a-mole with him. He is the mole, but he's digging straight on through the totals. Excellent stuff to come on through. IHC have fallen. U2 Alliance try and sweep through this eastern side.
Yeah, U2 Alliance not looking to form an alliance with anyone at this point in time. They've really stayed off the radar of a lot of these teams, I guess, other than Titans so far. Morph taking a big amount of damage there. 4 points, again, down to 2 players. It's a real unfortunate day for Morph. And Prestige Evos, to be honest with you as well, both Indonesian squads really not find the success that they wanted. And it's almost, I don't want to say amusing, but you got your 2 Chinese teams down at the bottom there in 12th and 13th place, and then Indonesian squads in 14th and 16th. This is where Turkey's going to be next year.
Oh. Bro.
You got your legacy winners.
Not if we can help it. Our home ground, our home turf in the UK. You know, we'll show them that support, I'm sure. If they make it, though.
No.
No, maybe not. I guess not.
Horrid folks in the UK.
That is true. Yeah, we're awful people. Don't know why we're going there. It's rubbish. Of course,
we've got some good folks.
I've got at least 2.
At least 2.
Got you. We've got Kale.
Kale's nice.
Yeah, he's pretty nice. Max is half English.
Max is saying no.
Sort of. Max is a little bit British. He's saying no. He's refusing his heritage. That's fair enough.
Get his passport.
Oh dear. No, he's repping the French, of course.
Either way, the leaderboards can change, and regardless of everything, like, they have put points up so far. Of Prestige, 628, Titans.
Ooh.
It's a nice nade from U2 Alliance.
Oh, and a second.
It's a nice nade, U2 Alliance.
They take 2. Not quite the price of 1, but still, it's a deal and a half to take the start against Titan, who were already down Shadow. Now, it's just 97. And that is not going to last long. U2 Alliance handily take care of Titan over on the east flank. They've been sweeping this area for a long, long time, with Morph playing on as 2, and honestly, a very unthreatening presence in this current lobby. From the east side, U2 Alliance have a pretty decent line end to this one.
I will say one thing to you, John, is that
what are you going to say?
There is a big difference between these matches and League Stage and PMPLs in the fact that a lot of these teams are willing to take fights. And it's the change that Max keeps mentioning, is that teams are willing to take center, which means they're willing to take fights to fight over that central position, which is why a lot of times we're seeing, come stage 5, we're already down to like 35 players. Apex though, making that less players.
Apex was a 1v3 opportunity there, got the flush as well. Sunan low, trying to crawl back behind, bleeding out pretty quickly there. 33Z trying to put the nades behind, and a long crawl for Sunan results in a potential pickup here. But if Apex can land the nade, it's right on top of two of them. Has the DBS, plays up to the corner, but it's Nurzed to look for the shot, and Sunan gets flushed away. Now 33Z in a 1v1 opportunity around the dump truck as Apex steps up to behind it, but Nurzed from Stalwart still a factor in this scrap. For MV may have just been thrown a lifeline here to keep things together, and there it is. Apex holds his nerve in water treatment. They've been scrapping for so long around this south area, and Stalwart from the high ground able to prompt it into a finale.
Let's be honest, man, they've not hit their quota in this game, so, you know, back to work for you 4MV.
That's true.
5 limbs, please. Loops, start things off well versus Major Pride. Effect, who has honestly been very good during this PMGC, attempts to get some shots off, but they are embroiled in combat versus DXavier.
They're busy.
So, a difficult scenario for them to be in.
Certainly the team from Vietnam giving them a run for their points towards the bottom of the table. Each one is precious. Major Pride on the north side. Next circle just about to come through. S2G still holding out WBG on the north side of their area. We'll see where the shift goes. Stalwart have been maintaining a lot of control on the south side. We spoke about the high ground before. They've extended action up towards the north. And Loops get a decent chunk of this one. If the fight to the north concludes in a lot of casualties, there's a lot less threat from that area. I'm looking at the approach from the west, though, and thinking, whichever team comes out on top of that, it's going to be a danger to them.
Yeah, I think if you're Stalwart, I think they did the right thing, right? Is they took the high ground, they used that high ground to position players further forward whilst having the cover available for them. So that's smart, gives them the ridge. Realistically, they should have heard Udo Alliance. I imagine that Udo Alliance has taken shots towards Stalwart this entire game, so likely they're just looking to finish off those teams on the eastern side and deal with the rest later. Effect goes down to Ayala, now just Dino, alongside with Naomi underneath.
It's not really the best of spots for Dino. Lamborghini can't quite peek out because of Naomi's position, but he's going to be pushed in. DXavier going to have to leave. Parachin steps out, gets a little bit too bold there. Not going to be able to find the shots he's looking for, but knows the siding now on the door frame. Falls away from it, though. Gives Dino the chance to cross back over to hold more face. Dino may be able to get a shoulder in through the door, but not much more than that. Certainly doesn't want to take that chance. Not just yet. With only 2 players alive for Major Pride, they want to close their day out a little bit better than this. As Udo Alliance fall, they look pretty solid on the east side, but they are denied entry. The access cut off by top.
Yeah, I assumed that would happen from Stalwart. It's very, very decent of them, and I'm glad that it panned out that way. Alpha 7 losing more and more players down on their side. One gets knocked. That's the fight in between Major Pride and DXavier of S2G. And a little bit of spice to the mix over on that side of things.
Looking to keep their chase up with Stalwart picking up quite a few eliminations so far. Blank, though, they are looking good to try and resurge towards the top of the tables. This is a replay of that 1 versus 3 situation, aided by Nurzed from Stalwart himself up on the high ground as well. The final nade coming on through. A really solid result for Apex to be able to pick that one up. They'll be certainly happy to see that one come through. And Apex is still going. He's still trucking on the south.
Yeah, honestly, like I said, he's not reached his quota yet. And we had a contract. We had a contract, you know. They matchly 5 eliminations. I'm not happy until we've reached it. So we'll see what 4 Miracle Vibes can get done here. Morph, though, on the other hand, over towards the eastern side on the ridge. Tempting to move through.
4MV.
Leon, though, takes a big hit.
4MV only getting those 2 eliminations so far, so they're going to need to step up a little bit more. Action is down for Stalwart.
12 limbs, though. Goodness me.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. They've climbed up. You can see them in second place right now with those elimination points. Yet to add the placements on top. So S2G certainly not only dealing with Alpha 7, but also the team from Mongolia, Stalwart, coming in as plenty of people's favorites for this whole tournament, for this grand finals. They've been doing bits. Major Pride, they shut down their day in less than honorable fashion.
Oh, I don't have to be so harsh to them. Because you can't be Major Pride of them.
I'm Major Cried.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't know what you expected, though.
It's very sad.
I think it was good that they got to
won their group. I thought they were going to do well.
I think it was good that they got to PMGC.
Oh.
I was happy. Didn't really expect much more after that. I'm not
I didn't
gonna
expect
lie to
much
you.
from them going into the group stage, but then they performed like that. They won their group.
Yeah. I think I was talking to Seven about this, actually, in the sense that, like, even though they won that group wasn't too difficult.
I mean, Vampire just weren't there, to be honest.
Yeah, well, Vampire didn't exist.
And that should have been a major force within the group.
It was a stake right through them.
It was just, I don't know, playing in the daytime. I think that was it. Maybe they should have stayed up a little bit later for that one. Unfortunately, we're not seeing them here. The PMWI two-time champions, you know, just not able to perform towards PMGC, but Loops is still in the fight. They're going at it with WBG. There's a one-knock trade, I think, going on through, because Wymow did get taken out of it. Loops, they were playing very, very central, and WBG just moved in from the north side of S2G. They crashed onto the compound. And here we find ourselves with just Chief remaining. The nade does the dirty. The final player from Loops falls.
I mean, less what happened with how did they get here, but more of how did they get here on the leaderboards. 5th place already. It's kind of nice for WBG, honestly. But Stalwart, more than want to reclaim the throne here. I think they're hungry for it at this point in time. Alpha 7 still holding that 1st place. With a chicken dinner on board, very doable to massively leap over the top of Alpha 7, but difficulty comes in the fact that Alpha 7 still in this game over on that southwest side. S2G currently dealing with them.
Currently, Blank, our 5 chicken dinner winners are the top 5 in the tables. We'll see if they can add one extra to it. Looks pretty likely, but DXavier might have other ideas. 4MV, they go down. Blank, they didn't make their quota. You're going to be mad with that one. Look at Paragin, though, hanging on by his fingertips there as Sue goes down. Unfortunate shot there, but Lamborghini gets the flush, and they're stepping on in. They're in through the windows, and SPG gonna be pretty unhappy about that. What a shot through the doors. Paragin is looking to shut things down. Ming has an answer, though, and DXavier being given a run for their money.
Ming still going. I love this. Ming, the king of the castle himself, up towards the top side. Lamborghini underneath. Looks to drop the nade out the window. It's great.
Nurzed?
And WBG will stay alive here. Nurzed helps the situation along, but a 14 elimination match so far right now for Stalwart, with likely 2 more eliminations coming through. It's going to be a big game. Silas once again.
On the west side, S2G from the east. Stalwart trying to find WBG in the mix of it, but Ming is still there. Nurzed 1v2 has backup from Action. Stalwart, 4 players, and S2G with a chance now to go back-to-back on their home turf, but they're low on the HP bars. Hamzy spotted, taken out. 2 players now. Razy's down, getting knocked, and now it is just the one Lone Ranger. But it's Silas. Can he make it work? 18 eliminations, Blank. And he's going to burn himself away. He doesn't want any of that heat. It's Stalwart.
Make that 19 towards the end. 29-point game coming through for Stalwart. And I think for them, they expected this to be a lot easier. You can tell the way they're holding themselves here. That game is more of like, why couldn't we done that earlier? Relieved that they're back on top once again, but man, there's some fierce competition here at the PMGC. S2G back at it again. You got Alpha 7 still running the top side of things, but Stalwart had the high ground in the end, and they'll have the high ground over in the leaderboards.
I don't know if Stalwart have been able to do enough. They were pretty close, actually, I think, on points towards the top, right towards Alpha 7. And Alpha 7, they went down a little bit earlier, so maybe there's some leeway there. Maybe S2G able to get enough points off the back of that 2nd place finish to be able to jump up as well. All I know is that the top 3 is hotly contested at the end of day 1. There are plenty of teams still looking to keep themselves up and conversational with those spots.
I mean, Alpha 7 have to beat out 63 points. I think they started that game at 48. Might be a little bit tough to get above that. We'll see, though.
We'll see. We'll see. 6 eliminations for Action. Look how chill this man is. Goodness me. He knows what he's about.
There seems to be worry here. There seems to be... I genuinely think that Stalwart thought this was going to be a lot easier. And they have been met by some ridiculously difficult opponents.
They got 18 eliminations and their MVP got 6. That shows how
19.
strong across the board they were able to get there.
I mean, it's a great final game.
It was 18 because he burnt himself.
Oh, did he drop the Molotov?
Yeah.
Oh, cheeky. I thought that was one of theirs.
Silas took the point.
Damn. Okay.
But this is fairly even on terms of damage. Obviously, more eliminations going to the left side of your screen.
I mean, that's cool from Silas, though. I like that no one gets to eliminate Silas. He eliminates himself.
I mean, denying the point, and in such a closely contested top of the tables, that could be a crucial denial.
Yeah. I mean, there was 3 points denied. Maybe 2 points denied because I think there was still one player from S2G up towards the end there. They couldn't grab him either. And then they weren't able to take up the elimination over towards Silas. They only got one, I think it was from Ray Z, in those final moments, which is pretty frustrating if you are the guys over on Stalwart.
It's so frustrating when I only get 18 eliminations.
But it could have been a 20 element, which would have seen them really with a good buffer into tomorrow.
18 sucks. I'm looking for 20. We are going to be going to the final death segment as well in just a moment. But S2G able to put up a good fight on the west side. Unfortunately, that high ground position that we talked about to the east side of water treatment. It seems like when you give Stalwart high ground, they did it over towards the military island with the observatory position to the east side of this water treatment area as well. They were able to use that high ground to leverage a forward move into the north side of the area, take control, and from there, they dominated. So many eliminations. So
Right.
Well, I don't really need to speak too much here, as you can hear the crowd doing all the talking for me. S2G, they don't take the victory, they take themselves to second place, but set themselves up nicely to defend that trophy in the next 2 days to play. But we really have to talk about Stalwart Esports, Max Fan's favorite team.
Oh yes, I'm jumping in, Jason. No, but we were talking about it just before, right, Seven, about how Stalwart is just such a proficient team when it comes to reaching the late game. When they have 3-4 players alive, they're going to exude so much control. They're going to be gatekeeping every single step of the way. If you were a team that unfortunately went into water treatment, you're not going to make it out. Right, so and they just more eliminations. They could have got almost 20 eliminations if they got the last 2 elims on S2G, but if they get to the late game, they're just going to win it.
Yeah, and this is perfect with what we've been talking about for the whole day, right? Especially for Stalwart, if they're able to control a certain area, they're going to be taking full advantage of it. Even earlier on, when they were in water treatment, east of water treatment, they were already starting to control that area. They were already looking at where the other teams were going to be rotating to and making sure that whenever the circle shifted, they were going to position themselves to take those fights and win those fights as well. So overall, if Stalwart Esports, if I'm a team and I see them being able to get a good position, I'm going to be a little bit scared because of this right here. 28 points.
Man, the fact that they sent Nozed to clear Deke Xavier versus WBG and they keep 2 players on the hilltop, you do not see any team do that. Like, it is such an overly aggressive play, but Nozed has just been able to survive fight after fight, and they're just assisting him from that ridge on the back line, so he has some semblance of safety off the back of that. And no one does that, but it's Stalwart, so they're going to pull it off.
As we're looking at the stats here, second place, Weibo. I mean, for them to be able to now perform 3 good matches in a row.
True.
That's great momentum for the team, considering that at one point they were in last place sitting with 3 points, I think it was, before they got the chicken dinner. For them to be able to continue on this is going to be great and setting them up nicely for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, 28 points. Weibo as well able to step up. The only team really from PEL that's been able to do so far in this event. And we can see top 4 fraggers, of course, it's going to be Stalwart. Obviously, when it comes to that last match, I mean, no other team came close. But to be honest, we saw yet again some great individual moments of greatness. You talk about Nozed, obviously. We have to talk about Apex from For Miracle Vibes, because he's done this multiple matches in a row now where he held off 6-2-8 in a 1v3 and was able to pull that off through.
If you hear DBS, just run. Or nades. Also, the ping coming out from Apex is able to keep it alive. I feel like For Miracle Vibe, that is one thing we can see them work around, similar to loops with Cardos in. Not just let a solo player do all the work for you, try and play as a squad, just like a Stalwart, and it might work out.
all right. Come down before we end up cursing them.
Are you saying you're on the Stalwart train now?
Nope.
I am not. Okay, I've said it. Legally, I am not binded to this.
While we're talking about trains, can you please get off the Nongshim train? Because ever since you got on the Nongshim train,
no,
they
Seven.
start...
No, I'm not.
Man.
I'm still on that train. We'll see.
And Max, man, is using that curse to his advantage here. But obviously, you know, Stalwart, they have been so close so many times in the past.
Yep.
And not able to take the trophy. We've seen them. We have obviously IHC coming in from Mongolia as well. It's great to see the power that Mongolia has as a region. And they do indeed take the lead away from Alpha 7 at the very last match here. But you can see it's not too big of a gap between them. And you have S2G in third place with 52.
Well, seemed like our prediction here, 7 of Brazil or Stalwart, is actually looking pretty relevant.
It is looking
More than
relevant.
I thought, yeah.
I'm actually happy that Alpha 7 is currently not in first place. I feel like this is a team that we're seeing in the past where they get first place, they get a little bit too comfortable, and then they end up losing that first place. I kind of don't want them to be first place for quite some time as well, but it's good, the performance that we've been seeing out of them. Towards the end of the day, in Myanmar especially, with some Mafioso getting eliminated early on every single time, hopefully they're going to be able to adjust that after they get some time here after this match, right, coming into tomorrow. And then for S2G, out of all the surprises that we got in today, out of all the crazy stuff that we've seen today, S2G being in the top 3 for me has been the biggest surprise.
Yeah, I feel like S2G here clearly have improved so much throughout the entirety of the year. Spring season, let's forget about it. We've got to remember the fall season where they start to pop. What? There's a spring season?
I didn't know there was one.
Nah, definitely not. But they've been able to improve significantly, and I feel like I don't know if you'd agree on this one, 7. You could compare them to Nongsham